if you pay close attention to what happened last week with DWC, even today with DWC, fund stock, PHUN, BNE, CTRD, I mean, those are pretty good examples of what we can expect to happen with AMC. I mean, both from the good and the bad. And the good is about the buying pressure pushing the price higher and higher. But I want to really focus on in this video around the not so good. It's not really the bad, but it's not the not so good, and learn from that in order not to miss money and leave money on off the table when it's actually our turn to secure those bags. So in the middle of the squeeze, when AMC starts to reach higher highs, I'm talking above the 72, all right? Not only it will cause some of the shorts to get out, consequently causing a domino effect where we only have margin calls and all the blah blah you already know, pushing the share price even higher. And that will also put us in a place where we're going to get halted. Trading is going to get halted. Not because they want to stop people from making money, but actually because it's part of the system. But they're going to try, I can foresee them not trying to use these halts, potentially going for multiple days in order to get some of the pressure or some of the people, some of the apes or some of the newcomers, either here for FOMO, greed, or the swing day trading, to actually get off in order to reduce the limits. But the thing is, AMC is going to be a little bit different because there are so many. I mean, just think about the volume going through dark pools. If we suspend dark pool trading, if we suspend payment for order flow, if we suspend all the tools hedges are using, such as latency arbitrage, in order to actually force them to send our shares, send orders from retailers to the elite markets, it's going to be a cataclysm for them, all right? Cataclysmic event for them. So everything is going to be exactly or similar to what we saw happening with DWC, where, every time it goes 10% higher or 25% higher, it gets halted. Now, remember also that when AMC on the way to 72 barely got halted, all right? So it's depending on how the flow of the buying pressure, the flow of the volume is going to hit AMC into the platforms. It's not a guarantee, but because if the process is slowly, if the hedges are slowly covering, we're not going to have those, brutal spikes as we saw in DWC. And, the latest example I'm, using, it's the way on the 72. It barely got halted. So it's not, doesn't that it's guaranteed it won't get halted, but let's just be prepared for both scenarios. Now, in the event, all right, and this is pretty close to what will happen, based on how the exchanges work, is going to get halted. But please don't freak out, because depending on your average price, depending on the amount of shares you have, and depending on your experience you have in the markets, I think some of us retailers, especially newbies into the market, are selling their orders at market, all right? Meaning, whatever the price, let's say the price is at 500. Whatever the price is then, between 500 or 550 or 520, I'm good with it. So I will let I'm good with selling my shares at whatever price it's actually here. That's what at the market means. But it will not make sense for you to sell at market, especially given the events of last week with DWAC and all the other stocks, because if you sell at market, because you don't have the same level of direct access to the market, by the time the brokerage or your broker gets your order to fill it at market, if it's halted in between, the idea of the number of the figure you had in mind while pressing sell might not be the number that is actually trading in reality, if you see what I mean, even though it takes split seconds. All right. So let's say you send your orders and the price is 520. By the time you get executed, by the time your orders get filled, if it gets halted in between, your orders may be executed around 450 or 380, even if it's going to get higher later. So you see that how you can get, pretty much leaving money off the table by doing so. So I would recommend setting limits. And here it's why I think lots of people might not agree with this, because everybody has a number in mind. Whether your floor is $1 million, 800,000, 500, 100,000 or less, it doesn't matter, but everybody has a number, all right? Everybody has an ideal number, but in reality, depending on how things will go and the hedges not actually letting this go that easily, I think we have to be smart. Either you sell chunks of your position, not all the entire position at a single number, because it's gonna potentially take days and days and days for the price to reach its maximum. All right. So you don't want to lose that climb, but you don't want to also to get caught at a level where nobody will be facing you. There won't be enough liquidity. By liquidity, we mean that there won't be anybody either to sell you shares if you want to buy, or to buy you shares if you want to sell. So that's what I mean, get caught with the back, holding the bags. So, AMC is going to be another short squeeze play like we all intended to be, but we have to be smart at how we play it. So please keep in mind, when it comes to the short squeeze, instead of selling at market, set your limits, but set your limits higher. Set your limits higher than what you actually want your price. Let's say you wanted to get your order filled at 3,000 or 5,000 or 500. All right. If you want to sell at those brackets, at those frames, those ranges, all right? If you want your orders to be filled at 500 or 5,000, make sure your limit is higher, because if it gets halted, like we saw with all these other stocks I mentioned earlier, there are pretty good chances that by the time you get executed, the price will be a little bit lower, all right? So you want to make sure you set your limit higher than the actual price you want your order to be filled.